Greetings, friends, and welcome to another episode of The Mistake Zone, your weekly dose of our lives and the mistakes within them. My name is Jaren Wade. Joining me, as always, one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Matt Alba. Hey, Matt.
Yo.
How are you doing?
Yo, I'm doing good.
Matt, that's great. Another great week of mistakes here in the mistake zone. Low-key week, for me personally at least, Matt. But before we get into it, Matt, what's up? What have
Jaren,
you been up to?
Jaren, I gotta say, I have been feeling pretty drained lately, Jaren.
Oh, why is that, Matt?
Jaren, this is because my phone battery can't hold a charge anymore.
This is bringing me back to a simpler time, Matt, when we were playing Pokemon Go. And Matt, those days of Pokemon Go, destroying batteries, having to bring a battery pack or flocking to the nearest coffee place, Starbucks, Timmy's, just to get your charge on so you can keep catching those sweet Pokemon. Matt, are you playing Pokemon Go again?
Jaren, no, I'm not playing Pokemon Go again. I'm playing another game by our Niantic friends, but I'll get back to that in a bit.
Okay.
But Jaren, I am actually back to that life of having, a power bank in my pocket, a cord coming out of it, and my phone plugged into the phone in my hand. And I don't know, Jaren, now that Pokemon Go isn't really a thing anymore, I feel weirder doing that than I did back then.
I feel that every time I'm on the go, I'm driving by a few people, and if I see at least two people on their phones sort of facing each other, if you know what I mean, I'll go, those dudes are totally playing Pokemon Go, and I feel this sense of almost nostalgic joy witnessing people seeing, liking what they like, Matt. And that brings me back to a time where I too liked what I liked, and that was Pokemon Go. But Matt, I think about another golden time with my experience with Pokemon Go, and Matt, I honestly think I'd still be playing Pokemon Go right now and don't tell the Niantic police, but I'd probably still be playing Pokemon Go if not only, so two parts. One, if the spoofer alt app I was using was still functioning, and two, I wasn't on my second soft ban strike for Pokemon Go, because one more strike and I'm out of there, Matt. I'm out of there. But I think about those, for me personally, it was pre-pandemic when I really was into Pokemon spoofing. Matt, want to know how into Pokemon spoofing I was? Please don't judge me. Are you going to judge me? Don't judge me.
I mean, Jaren, I Pokemon spoof too, so you're in similar company.
Did you pay $5 a month to use a special?
No, that's a bridge too far for me.
I paid $5 a month to use a specialized app that no longer exists.
Oh, man. No.
And I saw it as a way of thinking, oh, I'll be totally, capping these gyms and making my $5 back in coins, which I did, Matt, which I totally did. But yeah, man, just that low-key meta of, okay, if I'm going to port to the Go Fest overseas in Turkey or whatever, I need to chill for 23 hours just so it seems like I'm flying there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Matt, when I got those two strikes and when that app said, hey, we're closing down shop, despite you paying $5 a month to access it, those were the times, Matt. Those were the times. And I know that app shut down around the time the pandemic started. And with that, of course, my
Oh.
me trying to play Pokemon Go. But Matt,
Hmm.
do you remember you falling off Pokemon Go?
Yeah, I think it was actually like pre-pandemic as well. Pandemic would have been the perfect time for
Yes.
that spoofer, but yeah, after I got my first soft ban, I was like, okay, you know what? I think I'm gonna chill on this spoofing because I guess Sharon, I'm more of a scaredy boy than you are.
I feel that, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
But I do remember I was still spoofing when I went to Japan for the first time in 2019.
Uh huh.
And this was, during that tsunami where we were stuck in our hotel room. I would just, load up the spoofer, and then start to. There's a gym in the Skiji market near our hotel
Mm-hmm.
that I would battle some team, whatever the yellow team was, over, and we would just go back and forth on that one spot during the tsunami
Mm-hmm.
for like a good hour or so.
Man,
But
Jared, what if those people were in spoofing and you're actually just making them go into a tsunami and endanger their lives for this gym?
hey, man, it was kind of a, there were some residential areas, some apartment complexes, so they could have been, stuck inside trying to reach that from their apartment.
Yeah,
But
true, true, true.
man, Matt, those were the days when I would also get that, not necessarily that Pokemon Go, what was that extra accessory? The auto
The
catcher,
yeah, yeah,
where
yeah, the Pokeball thing.
I would use my friend's, I guess, third party, not necessarily a third party Pokeball. I mean, it didn't look like a Pokeball. It was just like this little, I don't know, device
Mm-hmm.
that I would attach to my iPad, or, my iPad. That's where my spoofing app was.
Mm-hmm.
Set a route that my character would walk around and then just auto catch for the whole day.
Oh man,
Honestly, that that auto walker was probably the only reason I was able to hit level 40 in Pokemon Go.
damn.
But
Mm-hmm.
Matt, now that we're here, let's get back into it. How's your battery holding up? And you mentioned that there's a certain reason why your battery is, giving you some, let's say, issues right now.
Jaren, so to get into it, I am playing the new Niantic joint. I don't think it's out now, but I signed up for the beta and I ended up getting in. And
Yeah, I believe it's uh, essentially a beta for, I believe, the early markets of Canada, Australia, New Zealand. Whenever you
mhm,
want to launch a soft mobile game, not worldwide, but in other regions to kind of test the capabilities. But yes, the
mhm.
new what's it called, Matt?
It's
Monster
called
Hunter.
Monster Hunter Now is what it's called.
Okay.
And Jaren, when I'm playing this game, I think my screen on time is less than an hour.
Huh, really?
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of rough, and I understand why when I'm playing this game because
So, Matt,
mhm.
I was going to ask, how does it compare to, the behemoth Pokemon Go? Because I feel like with Niantic, they keep trying to catch the success of Pokemon Go with all these alternate games, whether it be, I think they tried to do a Harry Potter one, they tried to
Mhm.
do an NBA one,
Mhm. I
but
thought the NBA
I
one
feel
didn't
like
even get off the ground.
I feel like none of these really get off the ground, but how is Monster Hunter now? And do you think it could potentially have any staying power? Like, I feel like it's unfair to compare these games to Pokemon Go because that's an anomaly. But
Mhm, mhm.
in terms of just mobile staying power, do you think it has a chance based on your experience with it?
Jaren, I really really hope that it sticks around because compared to Pokemon Go, this is far more of a actual game
Right.
than Pokemon Go. Because in Pokemon Go, really the only thing I really remember doing is, throwing curveballs at Pokemon, getting angry, when they break out at that last second, and when I'm doing like combat stuff, it's really just tapping and for a while and then hitting that button in the middle of your screen to
Yeah,
do
for
your special.
your special attack.
Yeah. And Monster Hunter is, like I said, far more of a actual game, and I don't know. I really, really like it. The thing that's really, really stopping me from playing it is one, just generally when it's hot outside and I don't want to deal with that.
Of course, of course.
But two is also just like, oh yeah, yeah. You know what, Jaren? It's mostly just going outside. But
Okay, point taken.
Jaren, the game itself is actually very interesting to me. Jaren, this is a pseudo isekai game.
You're speaking my language. No, you're not. But go on.
So the general story in this game is that instead of, I think, us getting isekai'd, it's the Monster Hunter people getting isekai'd to here.
Okay, that's pretty good.
It's, another thing about it, maybe it's not like fully isekai because you yourself are still here. They're getting isekai to here, and parts of their world are merging with our world. And
solid foundation to, I guess, any alternative isekai anime in general. Okay.
And
you're selling me right now, Matt. Go on.
So, because they're kind of merging with our world, monsters are showing up on our world. And the monsters are kind of just showing up in, it seems like randomly seated locations. Like, every 100 meters or so, there's a chance for a monster to occupy that area. It's very, I think one thing that I really, really, really like about this versus Pokemon Go is that in Pokemon Go you couldn't see anything that's outside of your range, or outside of your circle. But in Monster Hunter, they mark exactly where everything is, even if it's outside of your circle. So there are kind of the Pokestop equivalents are all not mining nodes, but resource nodes where you can mine ore, you can go through a bush to get bugs, or it's like a mushroom patch where you can get mushrooms and stuff. And like I said, every 100 or so meters there's a monster spawn that's marked there. You can see this is a level 1 monster, this is a level 2 monster, this is a level 3 monster based on the stars that are in front of them. And then there are also just kind of peppered around just one-time resources, because the Pokestop equivalents give you kind of 3 to 5 resources, and then scattered around there's just kind of one resource drops.
Okay.
And that's the general map stuff. And I don't know, as far as comparing it to Pokemon Go, like I said, I think the quality of life is a lot better just because you can see where everything is and you don't have to blindly wander around to look for stuff.
Okay.
But the gameplay, Jaren, is where I really actually really really like this game, and I wish I didn't have to walk around to do it, and I wish spoofing was around so that I could just fight monsters in this, because I actually really really like the combat in this game. Jaren, how familiar are you with Monster Hunter itself?
I think in terms of Monster Hunter, I haven't really played one of the modern Monster Hunters. I don't know why I said modern. The last one I really played was for the Wii U, and I played, a fair chunk of God Eater 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay.
Those are kind of my experiences with the monster hunting genre as a whole, rather than the franchise itself.
Okay. So obviously it being a mobile game, the controls compared to actual Monster Hunter are very simplified, but I think that the experience is actually decently close as far as as close as it can be, being a kind of bite-sized mobile game. Which is
So you're telling me that Monster Hunter now adapts the Monster Hunter's experience better than, I'll just say it, Pokemon Go adapts the Pokemon experience.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it adapts it much, much better.
Okay. How so, Matt? How so?
So, Jaren, once you meet a monster in the overworld, you kind of just click it, and then you go into a monster hunt, which is basically kind of, to be honest, just you and the monster in a kind of just flat ground field, and you can fight each other. The field itself is kind of decorated with whatever environment the game has decided to assign to your area.
Okay.
which is actually, I think, pretty nice how they're doing it, because as far as I've seen, there's only three kind of zone archetypes, which is forest, swamp, and desert. And a thing that I really like is that monsters are contained to certain I guess environments, right? Just based on the monsters like habitat and stuff that it would be like in game. And it seems like every day it kind of shuffles around what area is a swamp, what area is a forest, what area is a like what physical area I mean is like a desert. So
Oh, that's actually really cool.
so like like you could be in a forest one day and then like tomorrow it's a desert. So if you can't really walk too far on your normal kind of like day to day, like if it's like kids playing it and they can only really like go into their front yard or go into like a park that's like down the street, they are going to have varied terrains like throughout the week, which I think is like a very nice quality of life that's in Monster Hunter.
That's actually really cool because I was going, before you dive deep into the gameplay, I was actually going to ask you, and I think this partially covers it, how, for me personally, Matt, I usually am out and about for, my block, my neighborhood as a whole, just when I'm walking my dog. And that's kind of the extent I'll have in terms of that range, maybe like a kilometer or two in either direction. And if that's my, I guess, walkable area, do you think this is something that is able to lend itself to that, or are there other considerations to think about before actually investing my time for this to be a dog walking game?
For the most part, I think that's going to be fine. Because one of the things that this game does is that an old mechanic in Monster Hunter, which really isn't present in the current games anymore, is called paintballs, which is what you use to be able to show the monster on your minimap. Okay. And within this game now, you get paintballs where you can find a monster somewhere, you can tag it with a paintball, and then you will be able to fight it later, like once you settle down, like at home, for example.
Oh, nice.
Unfortunately, that is like one of the paid items in the game.
Of course.
So, you really are only going to get a handful of those, and then like every so often when you level up, you'll get them as well. But the nice thing is that every day you have a kind of like a cat friend, a palico, and every day they get 3 free paintballs that they can choose to mark, or like they'll like randomly mark monsters when you pass them while it's like off in your pocket, which is like nice.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So Matt, you see a monster on your map, you go into battle. What is this? Is this the equivalent of the Pokemon tap tap tap, use my special button, or is there some actual depth there?
It's similar, but there's actual depth. Because Jaren, once you get into the fight, it is a pretty like decent representation of a Monster Hunter. It is you and a monster. It's like kind of nice because it kind of soft locks you to the monster when you're playing.
Oh, nice.
And this is a game with like just like fully 3D models. Like your character's armor changes when you pick different armor. Like the monster is about as good as you're gonna expect them to be on a phone game when you compare them to their standard game models. And I really like the combat, Jaren. Every weapon, because Monster Hunter does have a bunch of weapons, kind of follows the same basic rule set, which is you have a tap attack and you have a long press attack.
Okay.
And, you kind of just like, can do like, hey, for example, when you're using the greatsword, you have your basic like 3-tap combo, which is like, a vertical swing, a horizontal swing, and then another vertical swing. And then you have your long press, which is a charged up swing. And when you compare that to Monster Hunter, those are actually the kind of equivalents of the two buttons that you can press in Monster Hunter in the actual game. And then it really does replicate the move sets kind of pretty well, because if you decide to do something like tap and then long tap, it'll do a different combo. If you decide to dodge and then do an attack, it'll pull out a different attack than your standard like tap attack. You are able to dodge like forward, back, left, and right depending on how the monsters are deciding to attack you. The monsters have basically all their attacks from the game, whether it's kind of just them charging at you, them throwing projectiles, or them, leaping and like kind of doing monster stuff. And I really, really wish that I wasn't so lazy, Jaren, because I would just love to go around and, kind of just do combat in here, because I find the combat in this so, so good.
Matt, you're actually selling me on this, and I might have to give this an install and try it when we're, going for our morning walks tomorrow morning. But going on to some of the specifics, Matt,
Yes.
I know one of the bigger things, lately with Pokemon Go was the avatar customization. And how's the customization for your character here on Monster Hunter now? And of course, with armor being such a key element of the Monster Hunter games, how is that incorporated?
So the customization of your character on a kind of character creation level is okay. Like you have, standard male body, standard female body to choose from. Each one has, I think, like 4 faces associated to it. You get to pick your general skin tone, and you can pick from like 8 sets of hair. I don't know if it's like different between like the genders, but like
Can
it's
I
like okay.
spend my Monster Hunter coins on a Gengar backpack?
I don't know. I don't. They don't actually let you customize your clothing within the initial like
Okay.
setup, because kind of just like Monster Hunter, your clothing is gonna very much be determined by which armor pieces you're deciding to wear.
Right.
Because you do have a head slot, chest slot, arms, waist, and legs as your armor pieces. And just like in Monster Hunter, you're going out there to farm items, get pieces for crafting these items and upgrading them. Like the Monster Hunter loop lends itself pretty well to kind of standard mobile game grinding systems, which I never really like considered too deeply before.
Man,
But
that's actually pretty sweet, Matt.
and like as you level up your gear, you're able to unlock skills, and you're going to be kind of reading through your skills to decide reading through your armor to decide which skills you want to get to complement the weapons that you're deciding to play.
Okay.
And I don't know, Jared, it's a very, very nice, solid loop for me that I wish I was able to spoof with, so that I didn't have to leave and I could just play this from the comfort of my bed.
Okay. But Matt, it seems like you're having a good time, but
Yes.
of course, this is a mobile game. Matt, let's get down to the nitty gritty. Have you fell victim to hitting the 2 times reward button instead of the continue button?
No, they have a thing where when you accidentally hit it, it asks you to confirm.
Okay. And I believe there's a option in the, I guess, the settings menu to have you turn that off.
Yes, there is.
But
Yeah.
Matt, how's the monetization? And I know because I still follow the Pokemon Go subreddit for some god awful reason, even though I don't play the game anymore. And I guess based on the algorithm that it's the threads that I get served, it's just a lot of complaining about, some of the changes for the bad that the Pokemon Go is seeing these days, as by some of these, the vocal, let's say, the vocal aspect of the subreddit. So, in terms of monetization, what can you kind of see from Monster Hunter right now? And do you think it is currently a problem, can become a problem? What's your view on that?
Right now, I think that it is not really a problem. The stuff that you can buy in store is kind of stuff just like paintballs, like I mentioned earlier, so that you can, mark monsters more often so you can fight them later on in the day. So you don't have to do it right away. There's items that increase like the radius of your detection circle, and they have potions, which give you like, I think they're like 55 HP, and Jaren, HP is, basically just what their stamina equivalent is on, limiting your gameplay.
Okay.
And I think that's all. Oh, they have like kind of like, item box like size increases for that is I think a lot more of a hardcore player kind of thing because as you kill monsters they drop a kind of just like, their crafting mats, and over time I can see that accumulating, but as a kind of like beginner player I don't think it's a thing that you have to worry about for a while.
Okay. So, Monster Hunter Now currently burning up your phone's battery. Uh, Wishing there's a spoof option, but currently in the, I guess, soft launch here in Canada and some other regions as well. Matt,
Hmm.
do you see this being something you go back to? Or is the fact that you have to kind of roam around really gonna give it limited time, a limited shelf life in your current rotation?
I think that like the roaming around is gonna really give it a limited amount of time in my like rotation. I think I'm really going to be limited to the kind of three monsters that get auto picked by the Palico when you're walking around.
Okay.
One other thing I guess is that the Palico only, I believe the Palico only will pick up random monsters while you're while like your phone's in your pocket. But in order to progress the missions, you also have to. It also counts resources, so
Okay.
you need to like hit those mining nodes as well, which I believe you can only get while you're actively playing the game.
Right. Okay.
But I don't know, Jaron. This is a very, very good Monster Hunter experience on the phone. Like I absolutely love the gameplay of it. I wish it wasn't a like an AR game, just so I could be lazy about it.
Man, Matt, if only there were some sort of substantial Monster Hunter experience on a big boy console or a
Mm-hmm.
big boy PC
Uh huh.
that you could sink your teeth into.
Mm-hmm.
But until then, Matt, Monster Hunter Now soft launched here in Canada. I believe September 14th it will be available or fully launched, but
Mm-hmm.
you can pre register. I'm not sure if you get any bonuses when you do.
Mm-hmm.
But Matt, I'm looking at some video right now. I'm actually surprised at how good this looks.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
I'm
was
just
surprised as
used
well.
to how Pokemon Go looks as well. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing that eventually there's going to be, bigger monster raids, monster hunting parties that are the equivalent of the Pokemon Go raids that have so many people coming together.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that would be the biggest test for a game like this, especially in smaller markets that, you
Yeah.
know, maybe the Pokemon brand can penetrate, but as big as Monster Hunter is, I'm really curious to see if this will, bring two people, three people, or enough people for you to actually successfully complete bigger hunts down the road. But
Yeah, I'm curious
until
about
then,
that.
Matt,
Mm-hmm.
until then, Matt, Pokemon, I mean, not Pokemon Go, Monster Hunter Now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna download it, Matt, and maybe we can check in again to see if we're both still playing by
Uh-huh.
next week. But
Jaren, I'm just really really hoping that when I go to Japan, it's taken off and I can hunt with some JP Bros.
Matt,
Mm-hmm.
when you go to Japan this fall, are you also gonna have Pokemon Go on your phone,
I
or
was
is the
thinking
magic
about
done
it.
there?
I was thinking
Yeah.
about it. I don't know, Jared. I feel like I'm so behind, and the last time I loaded up Pokemon Go after a long break, the amount of missions I kept getting was just destroying my phone, making it lag so hard that I don't know. I might have to look into it before I go.
True. So, sometimes you can't go back home, Matt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can't go back home. But final question, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to Japan this fall, are
Uh-huh.
you a pocket Wi-Fi guy or are you a SIM card guy?
I don't know, Jaren. Last time I was a SIM card guy. I've never actually tried the Pocket Wi-Fi. I might give that more of a look. This next trip.
All right. Yeah, we were SIM card people. Well, I just
Mm-hmm.
turned it off. But Matt,
Mhm.
sorry. Now that we're on the topic of Japan, apparently they're phasing out the Suka cards, and you have to use an app. How do you feel about that?
Oh, that's weird. Wait, are they just phasing out Suika, or are they phasing out all of the IC cards?
What's the other one? Like
Uh,
Phasmo
Pasmo,
too?
Pasmo.
Pasmo? I
Yeah.
think so, Matt. I don't know. I got a random TikTok and I felt bad because I'm still looking at my Suka card right now. Matt, I love my Suka card.
Oh man, Jared, I still have my Pasmo card. I was really hoping I'd be able to use that still.
Oh, well, when you're looking into Pocket Wi Fi, I guess this is something else you need to look into as well.
Oh, I just looked it up, Jared. Yeah, both Suika and Pasmo are being suspended.
Damn that. Damn, that's gonna be rough for I think you can get a temporary Suga card if you're, a tourist, but damn that.
I mean,
Guess
I have no problems using NFC.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know that's what a bunch of us did when we went to Japan for
Oh,
this most recent
it worked
trip.
fine for your thing.
Yeah, yeah. My friends who used it, it worked well. They put everything on their phones. Me, I still had the Suka card from 2000. Had to hold on to that nostalgia, man. Had to hold on. Like tomorrow morning, I'll be holding on to that phone while I'm walking our dog, trying to hunt some monsters.
Nice, 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 nice.
So, Matt,
Mm-hmm.
speaking about handheld gaming,
Uh huh.
I, it's a bit of a lull for me right now, just because we have, for me personally, Hollow Cure zero point 0.6 coming out next week. We have some
Mm-hmm.
Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, Armored Core coming out soon, Starfield. So a little kind of a chill time right now. And I told you last week, Matt, gave up some Project Sekai, gave up some D4DJ, haven't
Mm-hmm.
haven't gone back.
Oh
Still
man.
clean.
Oh man.
Still clean.
That's wild, Jared. I can't believe this is really happening.
But I logged into my iPad and I thought, hey, this might be a good time to check out Apple Arcade.
Mm-hmm.
This is Apple's gaming service that you pay a monthly fee to access a bunch of different games. And Matt,
Mm-hmm.
of course, the first thing I do when I try my Apple Arcade
Mm-hmm.
trial, I
Yeah.
downloaded Hello Kitty Island Adventure. Matt,
Uh-huh.
uh, I was on an airplane after I created my character, and it gave you the option, hey, do you want this airplane to land right now or start your island adventure? Or do you want to talk to the 2 dozen characters on this plane just to
Uh-huh.
get an introduction? And I started talking to a few of them, realized, man, there's a lot of people to talk to. Close the app. Stop playing Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
Damn. Damn. Didn't even
I
make it to the
am.
island, Jared.
I did not have my island adventure map, but
Mm-hmm.
for someone who gave up 2 rhythm games on my iPad,
Mm-hmm.
I immediately downloaded Taiko no Tetsujin
Uh-huh.
Pop Tap Beat because
Uh-huh.
Matt
Uh-huh.
had to see how Taiko transitions into an iPad setting, and it's okay, Matt.
It's
It's
good.
okay.
It's good. Do they have like a
I
virtual drum on screen or?
Well, it is a virtual drum. It's divided into kind of 4 sections where, you know, in the bottom of the screen, that's kind of where your drums place. You have your drum circle in the middle. You can tap left or right for either the small taps or tap them both for the big taps. And then, as you know, with Taiko, you have your corner hits, which are the blue notes.
Yes.
And luckily, it's a lot more generous where you can just tap outside of the drum circle area,
Oh, okay, that's
and
good.
that will trigger a edge tap, which is really good. But yeah, Matt, Taiko, not. I guess I'm not really surprised, just because it's a pretty low demanding in terms of visuals rhythm game. So of course it runs well on the iPad. Again, Matt, it's just me going through the set list, trying to play through the different songs, seeing all the classic anime songs like Let It Go from Frozen, which is under the anime section
Oh
for
man, I
some
love that
reason.
anime. Yeah.
They did have some Vocaloid songs, none of them that I recognize, which made me feel bad. But yeah,
Damn.
it was a pretty good, I don't know, hour or so of me playing, going through all the different songs, saying, hey, I recognize this song, I recognize this song.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
pretty good use of my Apple Arcade
Mm-hmm.
trial, Matt, which, is a month, and I'll probably go in just to check out a few more things. Maybe I'll finally talk to all my Island Adventure friends. But
Mm-hmm.
speaking about rhythm games, Matt,
Mm-hmm.
I was gifted a copy of Spin Rhythm XD on Steam.
Uh-huh.
Have you heard of Spin Rhythm XD, Matt?
Prior to you telling me about it, Jaren, I had never heard of it.
So Spin Rhythm XD is as I said, a rhythm game, and it's your typical note highway chart. But the cool
Mm-hmm.
thing about it is it's not your traditional note highway. When a note hits you, you tap accordingly. Essentially, with your tap line, the beat line, where when a note crosses it, you're supposed to tap.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of replaced by a cylinder. And I'm playing on the easy difficulty right now. I'm not sure if this changes when it's a bit harder, but so far, at least for easy, picture a cylinder with alternating colors around the cylinder. So
Mm-hmm.
for the default, it's blue and red. And you can actually spin the cylinder to position where the red and the blue are. And
Mm-hmm.
essentially, the notes that come across you, you have to make sure that the color lines up with the note that is coming towards you.
Mm-hmm.
And those are for the smaller dots. For the bigger dots, you actually have to tap, whether it be your trigger, the A button, or your mouse click
I see.
when it comes to you.
Are you playing with
And
that
then
controller?
I'm going between controller and I'm going between mouse and keyboard. Since I'm still trying to find my groove with the game, I'm not really sure how it's really what I prefer. But
Mm-hmm.
a cool thing about the game is, well, sorry, to continue with the mechanics, and eventually you'll get, which are essentially spin notes, where whenever that crosses the bar line, the hit line, you have to, spin in one direction or the other by jamming left or right. And that's essentially the note mechanic. So
Mm-hmm.
it's either positioning colors to match up with scrolling notes, hitting a note, or then spinning your wheel. And when looking up more information about this game, I've seen people say that they're hooking up their MIDI DJ controllers or their
Mm-hmm.
USB DJ controllers to control that way. And I have my own Pioneer DJ controller, but unfortunately, I'm still trying to tinker with that because the DJ controller I have, it has pressure sensitive, the disc controller or whatever.
Yeah.
And the pressure sensitivity kind of messes with the game. So that's something I'm still
Oh, that's weird.
kind of tinkering with. Where I also, Matt,
Mm-hmm.
at my parents' house, I also have two DJ Hero controllers
Yeah.
where I think, oh, if I can somehow get those DJ Hero controllers working, I think that would be pretty cool as well.
Nice.
But yeah, essentially, it's really tripping me out, especially the aspect of you having to match the color to the note without actually tapping something. And you'll get into instances where, okay, for this I have to tap, but for this I have to kind of guide the scroll wheel around. And I'm still kind of adapting to it. But so far, I really like how it controls. I really like how the game looks. But
Mm-hmm.
in my search for seeing, how's the controller support? How do I get my DJ controller working?
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that Spin Rhythm XD has a big custom music library. And
Mm-hmm.
I know this is something that we're kind of used to in terms of saying, like, say, Clone Hero has become such a thing right now. And, back in the day it was Frets on Fire. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like with rhythm games, whether it be, at the Clone Hero, as I mentioned, or something like Beat Saber, a lot of them really live or die by how much support the community is able to pump into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have two kind of questions when it comes to I guess three questions when it comes to kind of user generated beat maps, Matt.
Uh-huh.
And the most obvious one is, with your experience with rhythm games, have you dabbled in custom user made note charts?
Oh, of course I have, Jaren. I like once you get through all the songs that are inside the game, you have to go online and find all the custom beat charts of the anime or the K-pop songs. That's obviously how it
Yep.
goes, right?
Of course. And of course, Matt, I'm looking through some of the Spin Rhythm XD custom maps. I'm seeing a lot of Bochi the Rock songs,
Nice.
saw some New Jeans on there from their new EP, but that also kind of brings me to, I guess, the moral dilemma question of this is bringing me back to the LimeWire days, Matt, of, MP3 sharing, which Metallica has taught us is really bad. But with a lot of, I guess, sharing services, it's I'm not sure how Spin Rhythm XD is, just because I haven't downloaded any custom content yet, because this will get to my second point. But with a few of the rhythm games I've seen in the past, it's, hey, you're downloading the note chart itself from the community. It's up to you to find, the MP3. Hopefully you're the one who owns the MP3, or you bought it legally. For all intents and purposes, we all legally buy our MP3s here.
Yeah, sure.
But not saying names, Matt, but usually when it comes to custom content like that, are the MP3s usually provided, or is that something that you have to bring to the table yourself for the ones you've experienced in the past?
Jaren, I'm just kind of talking specifically about, I guess, Beat Saber and Osu right now, but those always had the MP3s in them.
Okay. And yeah, I feel like with a lot of the cases, even though they say, hey, bring your MP3, we know, we all see where the MP3 is. That they kind of also like, maybe I'm just, this is PTSD from, growing up and being told downloading MP3s is really bad. But even when I'm on, say, a Bang Dream wiki or whatever, and I'm looking up, oh, what's the latest cover collection? And then you can just stream this latest released cover right here in all its entirety on this wiki. I think that always like trips me out. But I digress, Matt. I'm just a baby in that regard. But the final point is another reason why I haven't really, dabbled in downloading custom songs, custom user made beat charts for Spin Rhythm XD is, Matt, do you find that downloading custom made charts is essentially end game content, in a sense that for when I'm really browsing through all the different Spin Rhythm charts, a lot of them are for the XD difficulty, which is essentially expert. Sometimes you'll get like a hard beat map as well, but never, like rarely do you see easy, do you see medium note charts. And I guess, again, from your experience, Matt, when it comes to the user generated content for rhythm games, do you find that it is that late game difficulty porn essentially? Or do you often see kind of easier charts being distributed as well?
No, like I kind of see exactly what you see, Jaren. Like no matter what rhythm game I'm playing at that time, a lot of the custom content is usually always for the final difficulty. Sometimes, like I would say maybe like 50% of the time, you'll also have stuff for the, I guess, tier below, like hard difficulty. And you will only ever get like medium and easy when it's a kind of notable like note mapper, and they're releasing like a pack for that whole song anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's also what's really getting to me. I want to kind of experience this, but at the same time, I'm nowhere close to be able to kind of play that difficulty, and at that point, I'm not actually enjoying the note chart to the fullest. But there's something, I don't know about you, Matt, but there's something kind of reassuring when I click, okay, what's the most popular Spin Rhythm user-generated content, and seeing Through the Fire and Flames
Classic.
as one of those top downloads made
Of
me
course.
really happy, Matt. Matt,
Mm-hmm.
How many custom Through the Fire and Flames beat maps have you played in your rhythm games?
Jared, I think that any rhythm game that has a custom beat map, I always grab Through the Fire and Flames. I think I'll always grab Through the Fire and Flames, and In the End,
Right.
and
Nice.
I Need a Hero. Those are usually like my go to checks for what do you call it? Custom beat map games, or yeah, custom
Solid,
beat map
Matt.
songs. Yeah, yeah.
Those are some solid choices. But yeah, Spin Rhythm XD, really enjoying at least the easier difficulties. It's something I'm still trying to wrap my brain around, but I'm
Oh wait,
having fun with it, Matt. Yes.
Jared, I can't believe I also forgot about Senpon Sakura. Of course, I want to
Of
ask that.
course.
Of course,
Of course, Matt. You have to.
you have to. You have to.
I'm sure if I searched it right now, I could find that for Spin Rhythm XD.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, now available. I'm not sure how long this has been available, but enjoying my time so far with it. Itching to try to get to the higher difficulties so I can finally graduate to post game custom maps. But until then, really like the look. It's really interesting, but
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Matt. The concept of trying to follow, you know, follow the note chart of the squiggly lines without pressing anything, but kind of just guiding your spin wheel to match that freaks me out, man. It's exhilarating.
Jared, like
Something
the
I'm not used to.
game
But
looks
into
like
it.
so good. Like I don't know. I feel like this is like kind of like all the games that I've first seen on PC or like not in an arcade. This
Yeah.
seems the most like I want an arcade version of this because the peripheral for this seems like it would be so good.
Matt,
Mm-hmm.
if I can get the DJ Hero controller working,
Uh-huh.
Matt, I have two DJ Hero controllers. Just
Oh,
let me know if
man.
you want to go. If you're going in on it.
Oh man, I might go it. If you can get a version, I might go it.
Okay. This will be another rhythm game update in the future. Hopefully, Matt.
Oh
Hopefully.
wait, Jared, I have a PlayStation 2. Like, what was it called? Beam-a-knee, controller.
Oh man, Matt, is the Mistake Zone just going to try to get our old peripherals to work on PCs to play modern games?
Oh man, Jared, I hope so, because that would be a good pile of mistakes.
Okay, Matt. This is something I definitely want to look into just to see. I want to try to get my DJ controller to work on this. I want to try to get the DJ Hero controller to work on this, and hopefully we can get some cool. We can graduate to the end game stuff there because Matt, we also have to play Through the Fire and Flames and Spin Rhythm XD.
For sure.
So Matt,
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned that Hollow Cure 0.6 is right around the corner, coming out. I think when this show it gets posted, it will probably be out by then. But until that comes out, I'm trying to, grind up some currency so I can roll on the HoloLive ID banners when they get released in the game. But Matt, it's a survivor game. It's a bullet hell game. And, for the most part, once you get into a comfortable position, you can kind of let it play itself. But the fact that Hollow Cure is this dual joystick, shooter in many regards, sometimes you need to be able to aim your primary and then, of course, your secondary weapons as well. That doesn't really lend itself to the AFK, play style.
Yeah.
Just because you sort of need to aim, sort of. But Matt, what if you went into, your Steam, you go into controller settings and you edit controller layout. And then, Matt, for someone who likes, cheesing games and kind of making them play themselves without buying any extra third-party peripherals, I found myself playing around with Steam's edit controller layout a lot lately. And in I guess for Hollow Cure, I've been trying to get to assign one of the back buttons for the Steam Deck. For me personally, it is L5. I've been trying to get L5 to replicate me spinning the right, analog stick. So whenever I hit L5, my character will just start going in circles. And Matt, trying to, I'm not sure how much you've edited controller layouts, but trying to get it to mimic rotating, you know, the right analog stick has been kind of a journey just because it's, for me personally, it's okay. When I hit L5, I need it to trigger pressing up on my right joystick, but I need to add an extra command of after so and so, it has to trigger, hitting right on the joystick, and then add another command hitting down, and so on and so forth. And trying to kind of play around with that has been a fun, experience in tinkering, but at the same time, it kind of sucks too, just because it's okay. I need to edit my controller layout, save it, start up HoloCure, go into a game, see if it's working. Okay, it's not working. Quit out of HoloCure, go in. Matt, I'm essentially putting in an hour or two so I can make this game play itself a bit better. But I'm actually amazed at how much flexibility you're able to edit your controller layout. And I think from an accessibility point, it's actually really cool, just the level of commands that you can kind of add to it after some tinkering. But Matt, have you used the Steam controller or edit controller layout before?
Not as deeply as it seems like you're using it, Jaren. But
okay.
I have done some kind of like tinkering around, kind of like making my D-pad act more like a control stick, or like vice versa, or switching, the bumper and trigger functions. One of the things I really initially liked doing was Steam has a kind of like, hey, use like switch button layout, which was nice for a while, until I realized that it doesn't really apply it. The game itself doesn't really apply it. So your buttons are kind of just in the wrong order to begin with. I think I talked about this on a episode before, where I think it was like for Harry Potter, actually. It switched my kind of like A and B button equivalents, and on the screen it kind of had them kind of locked into where they are, so I couldn't actually switch them.
Yeah. That's weird. That's weird.
But Jaren, there was kind of like one thing that really made me stop using the Steam controller customization.
What's up, Matt?
Which is I don't know exactly what I did anymore, but I somehow went down a path where my Steam controller, when I had a controller connected to my PC, I couldn't type with a keyboard.
Oh, that's weird. That's really weird.
It would pull up the on-screen Steam keyboard whenever I tried to type.
Okay.
Which is a really weird thing. And then when I tried to use it in a game, the control stick would using any of the control sticks would switch it to a keyboard layout instead of a control layout. So I messed with it so hard that it broke in a really bad way, and I became scared of doing it in the future.
Okay, Matt. I feel like you went too deep in another direction. But yeah, for me with HoloCure so far, it's sort of working. It's not really consistent, but at least I'm getting my character to aim in different directions every few seconds, which is kind of nice, and enough for what I wanted to do. But another game I've been tinkering around with edit layout is, I mentioned it previously, Matt, Street Fighter 6, where if I want to grind my battle pass, I have my R3, the right analog stick click to have it turbo mode A. So it's just repeatedly pressing A over and over again. And that makes you able to run 1v1 matches against player 1 and player 2 controllers for hours on end to grind your battle pass rank. But Matt, speaking of Street Fighter 6, I finally, after let's say 50 hours, which is an ungodly amount, have finished the Street Fighter 6 World Tour mode. And Matt,
Jaren, I have a quick
Yes.
question before you dive into the end of Street Fighter.
Okay.
Because I remember when you initially brought this in, you were talking about how you were stuck on that one jury fight
Yep.
where it didn't matter if you won or lose, but you had to win, just for your own like peace of mind.
Matt,
Uh huh.
I was able to beat Jury after downing. So you can use items during your World Tour fights to give you health.
Okay.
I used a lot of healing items, Matt,
No.
for me to beat Jury, only for her to beat me right after in the cinematic.
Nice. Nice.
But my my World Tour journey has come to an end for now, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Just because the ending to Street Fighter Six's World Tour mode doesn't necessarily feel like an ending, but more so it leaves you in a weird place that could potentially open up. And I do hope it does open up in the future, kind of with DLC, with them adding new masters to train under and hopefully new story experiences. But for to kind of get into the ending and why I find it really bizarre, Matt. Spoilers for the single player of Street Fighter 6, which, is okay. But if you're, from a casual perspective, it's a pretty fun, as I said before, Yakuza Light mode, but you're probably better off just playing an actual Yakuza game. But the whole premise of Street Fighter 6's World Tour mode is you're an anime protagonist of trying to find the meaning of strength. And through that whole adventure, you come across, a shadow organization. Even though Shadowloo was taken down previously, I guess a splinter Shadowloo is kind of growing. Your Sundari best friend in the beginning, not necessarily best friend, but your rival, gets caught up in this big mess. He eventually gets captured by New Shadowloo and has all the psycho powers kind of experimented onto him as well. So not typical anime Street Fighter shenanigans. But the ending to Street Fighter 6, the whole scenario is you're going for one final fighting tournament. Your best friend and his resistance organization that he's a part of wants to take down the Shadowloo who's organizing the tournament. They set up the championship belt with an explosive, and essentially they're going to blow up JP, who is who turns out to be the antagonist, the leader of the New Shadowloo, when he presents the belt to the winner of the tournament. When the tournament ends, JP says, "Hey, I'm going to present the belt to the winner, who's your character, who, tell me if you heard this before, Matt, has the key to disarm the bomb." But before JP can give you the belt, he says, "Hey, I'm going to let this dancer give the belt to you, who is the kid sister of your best friend turned into Psycho Fighter Bosch or whatever."
Amazing.
And before his sister can give you the belt, JP arms the bomb, gives her the belt, and Bosch runs up, grabs the belt from his sister, throws it off in the air, explodes, and Bosch dies, causing you to fight JP in this, final fight. Of course, Matt, anime. Matt, you beat JP. The whole Coliseum's on fire, everyone's evacuated, and your friend's dead in the corner. And even though JP's like beaten up on the ground, he slowly gets up and says, "Hey, you won. Now what? Why do you fight? Is it for justice? Is it for strength? Is this the end? Is this the beginning?" And then Matt, he asks you, "Now what?" Because none of this means anything at all. He laughs, falls to the ground, and the credits start rolling.
What?
Matt,
Jared,
for a game that says for you to find the meaning of strength and for the antagonist for you to beat the antagonist and for him to say, "No, none of this actually means anything at all," and to roll credits, is wildly nihilistic that I didn't expect to come from a Street Fighter game.
Damn, Jaren, I was fully expecting your best friend to not actually be dead, and like he cuts off JP's last words.
But Matt,
Uh huh.
so this brings us to the post game and the end credit scene, or the post credit scene,
Oh, of course. Okay.
where Matt,
Uh huh.
one of the end post game missions is you have to bring your friend's memento to his little sister, and their conversation essentially goes, "Yep, your brother's totally dead, and he's not coming back." And
It's amazing, Jaren. Damn, I wish you didn't spoil this for me. 'Cause I wish I could have experienced this firsthand.
and then so for the post credit scene, okay, not only that, Matt, but so you know how in Street Fighter in the World Tour mode you have all the World Warriors become your masters. They teach you their fighting style, and then you
Yeah.
can use their moveset.
Yeah.
Matt,
Uh huh.
I don't know what it says, but once you finish the game, JP, you can go to JP and have him become your master. And I don't know, Matt. This is kind of leading me to a question that I'll ask you for your Baldur's spoilers for the Mistake Zone, the Baldur's Gate 3 check-in. But in terms of role playing this character, it's kind of hard for me to bring myself to go to JP after he killed my friend and saying, "Hey, can you train me in Psycho Powers because I need to learn your moveset and unlock your Player 2 costume."
Oh
But
man. Mm-hmm.
That the post credit scene is you going to, Metro City, Beat Square, which is essentially Times Square, and getting a call from your original master, Luke, and him saying, "Oh man," even though Bosch was also his student, he's essentially going, "Hey, that was wild, pretty wild, huh? But I know you're not done yet, and this isn't a video game." Sorry, I'll bring up the actual quote.
Okay.
He says, this whole thing, it's not like a game. This journey doesn't have a real ending. And it's like,
Oh man,
man,
that's amazing.
you're really hammering home this the journey of strength is never ending. But Matt, when we see Luke call you, we see, a new batch of recruits for his training gym. And let's just say one of them doesn't look like your typical NPC and has that main character energy
Oh man.
and is essentially wearing the same hat that you and Bosch bought at the beginning of the game together.
Amazing. Oh god,
So, yeah.
Jared, this is so good. When's the anime coming out, Jared?
So Street Fighter 6's World Tour mode is your typical shonen anime, and I cannot recommend it enough. It's pretty good. It's if you're looking for a dumb shonen anime experience in the Street Fighter world, I say give it a try. It's
Man.
pretty fun. I do like how they did add some post game content where you can enter tournaments in the two major tournament locations. So it kind of gives you a reason to grind to level 100 if you really wanted to. Have a few side missions left to clean up. But yeah, essentially until new DLC adds hopefully new story mode content, I think I'm done with Street Fighter 6's World Tour for now, Matt. For now. But big goofy shonen energy. And yeah, just seeing the antagonist tell you that, hey, none of this matters really, really speaks to the Mistake Zone. Matt, if it wasn't a huge spoiler, I honestly would use it as the show art for this episode.
Man. That's so good, Jared. That's so good. Can you like use it without like a subtitle on it? Does that make sense?
One of those, if you know, you know. Maybe, Matt. Maybe. I don't know. The background's on fire and that kind of gives stuff. I mean,
okay.
Anything could be on fire, but if you know Matt, you know. So, Matt, speaking about checking into games, it's still the talk of the town, Matt. Baldur's Gate 3. I coincidentally have 3 people on my Steam's friends list playing it right now. But Matt, you've had another week with it. How how are your Saturday morning adventures going?
Jaren, they're going pretty good. My solo play is gotten to the point where you're kind of past, or I'm kind of past the, for lack of a better word here, like the tutorial enemies and like
Okay.
concepts, and you're getting into the more interesting kind of enemies and concepts. And
Okay.
I don't know, it's very nice that now all the battles require a lot more kind of like thinking other than how do I, maximize damage into these guys, where now it's also how do I, you know, am I going to go for damage here or am I going to go for, defense here, which is, a
Okay.
nice balance that
Now, Matt,
I've reached. Hmm.
you mentioned your solo play, and I'm not sure. I believe you're also playing a multiplayer campaign.
Yes.
Uh, can you speak to? I've been hearing some things that it's really hard to mix a solo file and a multiplayer file. Where I think I've seen the recommendation of, hey, if you're gonna do this route, you need like two separate, one solely for your multiplayer and one solely for your single player. Can you speak to what happens if you kind of try to use the same character for both, or
It's not so much
yeah?
that same character for both. I guess it's more so the same save for both.
Okay,
Which is that as the kind of like, as like a real player, you are able to create a character. And I think that creating a character is kind of an important part of the D&D experience, right?
hmm,
And obviously in a multiplayer game, everybody would want to be able to play their own character and tell their own story.
yeah.
The big issue is that a custom created character cannot be removed from the active party.
Oh, okay,
So that is kind of why they say that you shouldn't mix a solo play and a multiplayer play,
okay,
because if you, are doing kind of multiplayer stuff, the other people kind of make their characters and then they leave, you are going to kind of, one, sort of be stuck with the custom characters, and two, you aren't able to add the flavor that's brought in with the origin characters, or like the party members that they've written into the story itself.
right,
So I think that's why a
okay,
lot of people say that you shouldn't mix it. Plus, like when you're solo playing, if you level the person up and like they come and they missed the level up, but you leveled up for them, I don't know, that gets kind of like messy too.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just courtesy, man. It's just
Hmm.
courtesy as
Hmm.
well.
Hmm.
But so with your solo dolo adventures, you're getting a better feel for the combat now.
Hmm.
But Matt, not
Hmm.
here for the combat. I'm here for that juicy storytelling.
Uh
Matt,
huh. Uh huh.
any juicy story elements you've come across in the last week that you can share?
Jaren, there is a kind of one that I want to go into,
Okay.
which is a more so a mechanic that surprised me. I guess spoilers for Baldur's Gate. Uh, this is regarding the lower part of the game when you meet enemy psychics. I don't know. That's kind of like vague and enough. I don't know,
Okay.
but there is a point where you have to kind of help an potential enemy that's kind of been trapped underneath or trapped inside like this room that's like filled with rubble and like poison.
I hate when that happens, Matt.
Uh-huh. And Jaren, what surprised me about this was that it is on a hidden timer.
Oh,
I was not expecting that at all. I
yeah.
thought that it would be that like everything up until that point is more so like, hey, you've done this event, it advances like, this hidden like number up by one, and then when this hidden number goes up far enough, it triggers like an event to happen.
Yeah.
But this one was legitimately on a timer. So that really like caught me off guard, where I went to go, check what's going on with this guy. I'm like, okay, cool. This seems like it's going to be the kind of pivotal plot point of the area. I'm going to go do other stuff. and then come back here when I believe I'm done with this area. And it was very shocking to me, Jaren, for me to kind of just be walking around, and then I get a notification, hey, you've completed this mission. This guy is dead. And I went to go look at the update, and it's like, oh, he was poisoned by the poison in the room that you left him in. I was like, oh, well, neat. So I went back, and Jaren, I think one thing that I hate to see happen in a game like this, which is I completed that that mission continued without me, and then everybody related to that mission left the area. Those are all people, Jaren, that I was planning on killing, and all this XP just walked out the door, Jaren.
Matt, are you not worried they're gonna run into you some other time and take vengeance for you not helping your friend? Or do you think that maybe in a DM you might explore something like that, but maybe this might not be explored in the game context?
I feel like it's going to be explored in the game context because a secondary kind of thing there was that, it's kind of just, hey, I originally went to that area to save these slaves that were being used to mine in the area where the guy got trapped, right?
Okay.
But because I went to go, dick around in another part of this map, everybody left. So the slaves are gone and the slavers are gone. So I'm assuming that that's going to have a story impact later because I didn't save the slaves.
Right. Okay. I'm really curious to see how that whole thing turns out, especially with this guy dying to poison and if that becomes a point of contention as well. But Matt, someone was in need of your help and you left to go dick around somewhere. Matt, it sounds like you succumbed to your dark urges. Matt,
Jared,
the concept of... So I still haven't played Baldur's Gate 3, but just hearing the discourse around it, it's really getting me excited. But one thing I found interesting was the concept of what the dark urges are in Baldur's Gate 3. Could you go into what the dark urges are, Matt? And even though you went to dick around, are you someone who is actually succumbing to the dark urges?
So, Jaren, when I created my character, I actually created the dark urge character.
Okay.
I had no idea what it was going to really be, but the Dark Urge character itself is an origin character, which means that it is a character with a backstory that has been written by the developers.
Okay.
A lot of the origin characters end up being your party members. And they have distinct looks, not distinct classes, but a set starting class. And they have unique stories written for them. The Dark Urge is the only one that does not have a specific class or, design tied to them. So it is a custom character that you can design, and the backstory will, it's molded to fit any kind of character that you decided to create.
Right.
So I thought, oh, cool, I'll do this. Because I can make a custom character and I still get everybody else, to party with me. And Jaren, the Dark Urges are taking my character down a very unexpected path for me.
Really?
Yes, Jaren, because Jaren, the Dark Urges kind of make your character know that for some reason they just have very, very violent tendencies. And when you're kind of doing the role-playing stuff and picking speeches, you are given options to just be sadistically violent. There's a kid that's getting pulled into not pulled into a lake, but lured into a lake by sirens or something like that, and you have the option to just hey, I'm just gonna drown this kid. And I'm pretty sure that you don't get that option if you're not playing the Dark Urges character.
Right.
And
so, Matt, it seems like you're just running a renegade character all the time.
Sort of Jaren, I don't know. I think renegade is actually a step back from what Dark Urge's character is, because
I guess with the renegade, you're kind of just an anti-hero at that point. With the Dark Urges, from what I heard, you just sound like a serial killer.
actually legitimately I think are, I guess, like spoilers for Dark Urges. There is a point where, hey, like after you've done enough story stuff, you meet an NPC who decides to, like, join your party. This is kind of just like a random NPC that was like in the area where a mission occurred, and they join your party, and then you find that after you decide to take a long rest, you've murdered them in your sleep.
Oh gosh.
And then like everything just starts like falling apart. And then, after that happens, you get another event like later on where this like goblin or something visits you, and he says, "Oh, yo, I watched that murder. Yo, good job. Like I loved it." And when you try to like question this thing, it's just saying stuff like, "Oh, you know what? I can't really go into that because of contract rules and regulations and whatnot. But yo, you're doing a really good bang up murder job there." And
Matt, is this the prequel to Demon 79?
oh man, oh maybe that'd be a good goof. That'd be a good goof. But I'm really interested in seeing how this Dark Urges plot kind of goes, because I'm also trying to play someone who is more so on the chaotic good side of things, where like, okay, yeah, like I'll try to do like the best good I can that doesn't horribly endanger me, and I'm fine with like breaking the law to do it. And like friends and family, like I'll do anything for them, right?
Yeah.
Like that sort of thing. So I'm interested in seeing where this kind of like murdery background ends up leading that.
It's kind of interesting to me just because from what I heard about the Dark Urges origin, that seems like something you typically do on, say, a second playthrough, where you kind of had the lay of the land already. You already set your, for all intents and purposes, your default route where, okay, maybe I can explore. I know how this typically, for the most part, plays out. Maybe as someone who is a serial killer, how does this differ in that regard? But at the same time, Matt, I was alluding to this earlier in the show. How often do you replay a game to kind of explore, for all intents and purposes, the renegade options? And I'll be honest asking you this. Do you feel bad going down the renegade route, in alternate playthroughs?
I think there's a difference between like the renegade route and the evil route.
Yeah, I was using them interchangeably, but I guess, yeah, for the same thing. Yeah. I guess the evil route makes more sense.
Yeah, because I have no problem going down the renegade route, where it's like, okay, yeah, I'll be an asshole, but like I'll be, doing good stuff in the long run. But the evil route, I think, is a lot like more rare for me to ever do, even on like a second playthrough, and I barely second playthrough games anyway. And unfortunately for me, Jim, with regards to Baldur's Gate 3, I think the characters that I'm using for this pseudo good route are all the characters who would be okay with me being evil. So if I were to do a second one later, I'd be left with the characters who would want me to do good. And I don't know, I guess I really have to kind of like, if I'm gonna do a second playthrough, kind of work around that, I think.
Damn, man. It really seems like the Dark Urges has their fangs in you for this playthrough.
I'm the Dark Urges. I'm all about that, Jaren. Like I'm interested in seeing how it's going to play out with the way I decided to, map out my like mental story or progression throughout this game.
Yeah. Okay, but man, I'm really curious to see all your updates with how the Dark Urges have been treating you. But anything else from this week with Baldur's Gate 3 that you wanted to share?
Jaren, recently they put out a kind of like infographic about the opening weekend of Baldur's Gate.
Nice.
And Jaren, I want to go through some of these numbers with you. I'm not going to go through everything because they did have everything on the Steam post, but I want to go through the ones that I thought were like interesting.
For sure.
And the first one, Jaren, is I am surprised at 368 players managed to finish the game in the opening weekend, which
would you consider finishing the game? I'm actually like curious. Like, is that just seeing credits? Is that putting X amount of hours?
I'm going to assume that it's like you've reached a what is an ending, and then the credits will play.
Okay.
And I am surprised that that number is in my head like lower than what I would have expected. I'm
Really?
surprised it's actually like sub 1,000, to be honest, with how many people are playing.
I mean, this is a beefy boy game.
Oh yeah, this is a beefy boy game. I'm just surprised that it's such a low number for the opening weekend. I thought there would be a lot more people who would, be a lot more hardcore about it and, really, really cram all that time in.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Jaren, I believe a good goof is players spent a combined 88 years in character creation. And
Into it.
And nearly
that speaks to me, Matt. That speaks to me.
And nearly 10% of characters spent at least an hour in character creation.
Good number. Good number. At least I know that some of my people are playing Baldur's Gate 3 as well.
Of player deaths, 12% were caused by friendly fire, which is, Jaren, a lot lower than I was expecting.
Matt, have you... How much friendly fire has made its way into your multiplayer sessions?
It is it's consensual multiplayer, or not multiplayer, friendly fire, where it's like, okay, you're in the way there, I'm going to cast a spell, and hopefully you make it out. We haven't had any particularly hard deaths caused by friendly fire.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough, Matt.
Jaren, I guess like going back to the good and evil thing, the first kind of like major good and evil choice that can get made, 65% went good and 34% went evil, and then there's a kind of like decimals in between to make up that last percent.
Right. Okay.
And
it's pretty good,
Jaren. I think,
or pretty bad, maybe.
And I think, Jaren, though, the kind of like crazy one to me, just numbers wise, is that cumulatively, players have spent at least 10 million hours in game, which is equivalent to 1,225 years.
Nice.
Big
beefy game, Matt. Big beefy game that is really popular. And the more I hear about it, I keep telling you, Matt, where I think it's my dream to see something of this scale have more of a, urban setting. Or dare I say, Matt, an anime setting.
Yo, 100%. Oh my God.
But for someone who, isn't necessarily a fan of, I guess, fantasy settings, I think just the claim, just really the level of possibility is making me really interested. And not gonna lie, Matt, those dark urges seem pretty appealing as well. But in terms of what's next, Matt, what are you currently, to end off the episode, what are you currently working towards in Baldur's Gate 3?
I am trying to find a way to get to kind of plot point towers. I've decided to go the overland route because I couldn't find the underground route. And about an hour ago when I was playing co-op with my friends, I found the underground route. So I might, divert my my solo save to see like if I can also progress down in there as well.
Okay. Sounds good, Matt. Sounds good. Like this episode of the Mistake Zone.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to be this beefy, but hey, Matt, had to cut off some segments that maybe we can get to next week. But Matt, I want to thank you as always for joining me this week and editing this episode.
Hey, Jaren, I gotta thank you for hosting this episode.
This guy. Thanks, man.
Hey.
Who else should we thank? I want to thank what's the dragon boy? Raganos?
Rathalos?
The monster
Rathalos.
Yeah, Rathalos. I want to thank that guy. I want to thank that spoofing service I paid $5 a month to use. Rest in peace. I want to thank all my Hundo Pokemon that the spoofing app told me to go get. I want to thank Rhythm Games. I want to thank Rhythm Game Charters who do easy difficulties. I want to thank the Never Ending Journey for Strength. And I want to thank Dark Urges, Matt.
Oh, Jaren.
Yes.
I want to thank the Pokemon people for finally putting Pokemon Stadium 2 and the Game Boy Color Pokemon trading card game on the Nintendo Online service.
Right. Matt, there was a Pokemon thing.
Jared, there was nothing
this
in
week.
there, man. I don't think that Pokemon Presents really had anything other than that for me.
I did download Pokemon, the trading card game, the Game Boy game, on my Switch.
Nice. Did you start
Played
it?
for 5 minutes
Mm-hmm.
and went back to HoloCare.
Oh man, Jared, I've been reading like, yo, what were good Pokemon decks for Pokemon trading card game, and I think it'll be fun to play that game, knowing how like card games are supposed to operate.
Oh, man. That's a good point, Matt. That's a good point. And maybe I'll join you there. But to join you there, we first have to end this episode. So, Matt, please take it away.
This has been the Mistake Zone, and we're all out of meaning for anything.